Okay, well, Sandy alluded to this earlier, but every baby is going to have their DNA mapped under an NHS revolution to predict and prevent diseases, and this is according to the Daily Telegraph. And since Health Secretary Wes Streeting retweeted their tweet, I guess that's confirmation. Now, Streeting said the advances in genomics would allow people to, quote, leapfrog killer illnesses and receive personalized healthcare. And within a decade, every newborn will undergo whole genomic sequencing, according to the Telegraph, which assesses the risk of hundreds of diseases. Now, that's the claim, and the Telegraph reports that this proposal will be part of a 10-year health plan, which is expected to be launched in the first week of July and will be funded by a £650 million boost into genomics as part of the government's life sciences sector plan. But since we don't live in a democracy, but are rather run by a uniparty, David Cameron was straight out to applaud here in this tweet. Fantastic news, he said. Now, the 10-year health plan will define how so-called healthcare is delivered in the future from hospital to community, from analog to digital, and from treating sickness to prevention of illness. Of course, this has nothing to do with preventing disease before it happens, as is claimed. It's everything to do with looking for markers which will get people into a lifetime of big pharma intervention from the age of 0. But it doesn't end there. It's also about digital ID. Your genomic sequence will be used to generate a unique identifier, which will follow you from cradle to grave. This is where digital ID ends up. And as the Trust report here says, we're entering the age of DNA IDs. So don't forget, we warned that the Data Use and Access Bill was the enabler for all this. So if you're unhappy about it, it could have been prevented with an organised campaign, perhaps, but this legislation has now received royal assent as of 5 days ago, and so the brakes are off. And let's not forget who's right at the centre of all this. It's Palantir, already mentioned on this programme and already fully embedded in the National Health Service. Palantir is in a prime position to benefit. Now, does anybody on this discussion today or on this news programme believe that Palantir is doing this to save lives? Do you believe Palantir is doing this to save lives?
I don't think so. And I don't think this should be regarded as separate from all the sort of war, NATO, fear narrative as well. I mean, it's very, very reminiscent of the way the COVID system, charade, whatever one wants to call it, was driven. Everybody now speaking the same language, and it doesn't really matter whether it's war or health. It all is all tantamount to the same thing, a control mechanism which yields enormous financial dividends for those who are controlling it.
And Sandy, related, again, remind us of a little bit of history, and this time Hollerith.
Yeah, I mean, the eugenics movement goes back a long way, originating really in the UK and the US before it happened in Nazi Germany. But Herman Hollerith was an engineer, and he developed a tabulating system, a sort of punch card system, which was almost like an early computer, which eventually was acquired in advance by IBM, and it was instrumental in the categorization and processing of health and racial data in the 1930s, particularly in the census of 1933. Now, Edwin Black's extensively researched book, IBM and the Holocaust, he documents how IBM, through the company Genomic, provided tabulation machines and technical assistance to the Nazi regime. This helped the government sort census data, including religion, ancestry, and health data, and enabled the identification of racial demographics and the disabled and mentally ill, and others who were targeted under eugenics laws. IBM New York maintained control over this company, Genomic, and approving leases and punch card customization and upgrades. Now, there's a distinct parallel to what's happening now with NHS Digital, NHS Improvement, and Genomics England, Palantir, all of that stuff, and as a means of collecting health data on the population. And this links up with Mike's what Mike said about the baby DNA harvesting of newborns, and Ben's article on Monday about the company Illumina and Netanyahu's involvement with Israeli genomic sequencing industries. Now, in 2022, the Health Secretary and Social Care announced that NHSX, NHS Digital, will merge with NHS England and NHS Improvement. This new technology is predictive, preventative, and personalised and participatory medicine. The NHS at its core will be working around genetics in disease, reaching into the DNA of every man and woman in the UK. The use of this app has the ability to monitor every aspect of your life, your shopping habits, financial and social status, education, hereditary, genomics, fitness, and more, feeding into the corporate superstate created by COVID-19, that crisis, and it's powered by mass surveillance. According to NHSX, from 2020 to 2025, genomic medicine will be embedded into routine care. When we look at the new legislation for assisted dying and abortion, we see that what was once a covert operation in the 1930s has become overt and acceptable. Now, I want to look at Aktion 4. This is the Nazi program in the 1930s and 40s for the euthanasia of people not deemed to benefit society. So the question is history repeating itself?
That is a good question. And Vanessa, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that before you move on, but do you want to talk about biodefense?